Click the links to join the channel here over on Subscribe. So let me do a short version of this. I did a longer version for the members thing, and then I listened to it. I'm like, I can't really say that on YouTube. It's a little too much. The thing is, people, this Hollywood machine, they make these movies, they put this stuff out in the universe, and they think they're living in a glass house. And when you put on the glasses and you the tinfoil hat, and you go down the rabbit hole. And you start looking at like what they're doing, you're like, I can't help but notice there's a couple of themes in this movie that I'm seeing throughout Hollywood. It aren't really in accord with reality, and yet we're seeing them over and over again. So let me try a short version and ping on 2 points of Avatar Part 2. First of all, the movie sucked. But the first movie sucked, and it made $3 billion. So, it's a kid's movie. It clicks with the kids for some reason. I don't think this movie's going to do the same, but who knows. The energy of this movie is way off in a way that the first movie was America, the audience was in a different place than it is now. Things are very much different, obviously, with this soft Bolshevik revolution. But that doesn't mean that the movie won't be a slow burn and a big hit. Some of his movies do. I think Titanic did that, and there's another one the first one I think started slow, and then they just kept creeping up and creeping up. So this might also do the same, because the average American IQ is dropping so fast that they see the pretty colors and the high frame rate, and they think it's a good movie. The thing is now and then, between the 13 years between the first one, people were watching stuff in the theaters more, I think. And this is a movie that has tech that you need to see in a theater that you just can't replicate if you're watching it on a tablet or even a home theater system. So, and because of the Wu Flu, people are more likely to watch the stuff at home. That's like the Wu Flu only hurts some movies. It didn't hurt that Tom Cruise airplane movie. Anyway, the thing is, the 2 points. What I mean about the energy being off is they've got, of course, can I zoom in on this? The vaguely American or blonde, I don't even know if they're supposed to be America or what, military group going to slaughter a sentient and sapient group of people. None of that makes sense. Cameron I think he thinks that he's pissing off flyover country. That is old thinking. That old kind of like that era of Americana and the like back to blue and the MAGA kind of stuff, that's over. That is way, way over. Flyover country is finally aware that foreign wars don't serve American interests. They're seeing that Americans don't run America. We agree with Cameron. U.S. out of foreign wars for sure. So wars across the globe don't help America, or giving money to proxy wars in Ukraine or other various countries, especially, there's literally homeless tent cities throughout America, and inflation, and like everything in America is just getting worse and worse, and you look like, so taxpayer money going to other countries and foreign wars 10,000 miles away. Seems like we could just take care of America and just stop being the world's policeman. No, we're not going to do that. You saying you want more funding for foreign? No, we literally have homeless tent cities throughout America, and nobody seems to care about that. Anyway, yeah, this is kind of the end stage of a country before it reforms. Anyway, so one scene in the film is so bizarre because you've got the evil humans, who are probably going to be overrepresented with fair skin and blonde hair and blue eyes and green eyes, getting the ambergris equivalent from the whales. That's the whales. It's like a pearl for a whale. They get a stomach irritant, and then they cough it up, and it's got a chemical they used to make perfume out of. I think that everything's artificial now, but except that the thing is, like, they're getting this stuff from these whales, and they're just like needlessly torturing these whales. And this is, these are fair-skinned, blonde-haired, blue-eyed people who are doing this. That's not and this is set in the future. That's not the direction the West is going in at all. In fact, the opposite is true. The West and the blue-eyed people are the only ones who care about the environment. The Paris Climate Accords, yeah, China and India didn't sign on for those things. Caring about the environment is very much a Western thing only. So I bring this up because in China right now, they fish sharks. They cut the fins off the sharks, the still living sharks, and then they just throw the sharks back to suffocate. Or in Africa, the Chinese hire the Africans to hunt rhino and elephants just for the tusks. Literally, the Chinese are doing these atrocities right now, but in the mind of Hollywood, they have to have a blue-eyed guy just needlessly torture these intelligent creatures, a CGI whale, to show how evil the European is, which They don't do that. The European people, whether in Europe or America, around the world, don't do that now. I mean, the Japanese have been recently doing it, and the Chinese will do it. So none of this makes sense. I mean, to kids watch this stuff and they get this image, and I mean, this kind of stuff is deeply, deeply disturbing. This kind of stochastic. It's an act of war, and to say that isn't hyperbole. And I know that if you're listening to me, you know that to brainwash kids, like there's no fixing this within the system. Like you can't to have a system to have your like people have access to this kind of stuff. It's kind of the same analogous to the government, the schools, and just the constant flood of mainstream media. Like the only way to fix it is to like set up communities and remove large groups of people from it. Anyway, so ooh, that came off sounding a little bit weird. I mean, to form your own like own groups within the state where you know, like the Amish or something like that, where you live according to your. I didn't mean anything weird by that. Anyway, none of this narrative makes sense because the Chinese and Africans are literally doing all that stuff right now. In fact, that's why it gets remarkably little media coverage, because media companies are also tied into entertainment companies, and if you've got a media company doing an expose on the Chinese are hiring the Africans. And like politically, that I mean, for the politically correct left wing, that they hear that and they hear those two words and like, oh dear God, we have to get away from this somehow. We have to post the picture of like the some European dentist who's out hunting an animal, and it's like we'll post that picture. It's like okay, so this one guy paid $100,000 to go to like an animal farm where they're raising game to be hunted, and his funds pay the anti-poachers who protect animals that are going to extinct. And you explain that to the people, and they go, yeah, it's not a great thing to have a hunt like this where they essentially, I mean, it's pathetic. It's like they shoe this animal into this guy, and he's using an H&K and taking out this animal. And he paid high dollars for it, but it's like that pays the anti-poacher's salary to go after the African poachers who are hired by the Chinese who are taking out the rhinos and the elephants. It's like you're doing one little thing. It's the essential. It's like the equivalent of paying to delete a deer, but you're saving the bears that are going extinct. And you discuss that with people, and it's like, oh well, they shouldn't be doing either one. But it's like this is the real world. That money funds the game preserves and the anti-poachers who are going around and taking out the poachers. It's like this is the real world. And explaining it to him, it's like, but we so want to find a way to make the blonde haired guy bad. It's like, no, it's the Chinese and the Africans in this case. And even saying those words, it's like it pings on their radar, and they get so triggered by that. It's like, but this is what's actually happening. But it's not happening in Hollywood. And it's the upside down Joker world, Joker planet, right? Of Hollywood. They can't show Chinese or Africans as evil, so they swap in some Europeans in the show that's set in the future. And it's like, even like now I think about it, it's like to allow kids to see this and come away, or like a lot of low IQ adults see this and come away with this narrative. Oh my God, these European people are so evil. You go, yeah, actually, that's not happening right now. It's the Asians and the Africans who are doing that. Literally right now, the Europeans have moved away from that. They're conservationists. They're in the opposite direction. Like this movie is telling you but I saw it on the screen. It must be true. There are literally people who believe that. The power of propaganda, and I mean that's kind of my point. Is like you can't fight 24/7 propaganda. You have to remove yourself and your community from it, which is a big next step. But I don't see another alternative to this kind of stuff. Anyway, so obviously they're not going to show Chinese or Africans as evil, and it wouldn't sell in China. So they swap in the blonde hair, blue eyed Europeans. It's literally the opposite of what is going on right now. That's how ridiculous the situation is. They hate the Europeans so much, but they also want to sell to China, so they can't show the actual evil the Chinese are literally doing. Or, of course, the Africans, but I mean, that's a soft bigotry or lowered expectations. I remember when I started down the rabbit hole, I started to see some stuff. I saw this South Korean horror movie, kind of a lower budget thing, and they're in South Korea. It's all Koreans, and there's some German scientist who's in. He's the only European in the movie. The only point of having him in the movie is to be the bad guy, and he's in a lab and he's telling his underlings, his South Korean underlings, oh yeah, you got to toss these chemicals in the sink, and the Korean guy go, that's not how we dispose of them. That's not correct. That's not. And the evil German guy is in this movie. I'm thinking like, what the hell is going on here? Because you realize in Korea, they're not going to have a Korean do something bad, because they're a nation of one people. So they literally put a German guy in the movie to be the bad guy, and the Koreans watch a movie, and it's like they don't even think anything twice of it. They think, oh yeah, that's the way to do it. And I watched that movie, and I'm like, that's insane. That's how a lot of the world. That's how a lot of the world makes propaganda. Like none of these movies aren't movies. I did a long review for this, but it's really politically incorrect. But movies aren't movies; they're propaganda, and they've been propaganda almost since the beginning. I mean, they're propaganda one way or another. It's just the binary of, do you want to make propaganda in accord with like tribalism and nationalism, or do you want to go against that natural order and make globalist propaganda? And almost right from the beginning, Hollywood has been making globalist propaganda. At least it's the Koreans' credit; they're making not nationalist propaganda, which is the way to maintain a stable nation. Um, I'll leave it at that. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys all next episode.